Mr. Flake.
Thank you. Thank you for the testimony. When we're talking about building capacity with the institutions there, you mentioned that you're trying to hire firms, Pakistani CPA firms and others to audit a lot of this. How is that going so far? How much capacity needs to be built there before you can transition a lot of the work from international contractors? Mr. Feldman?
Yeah, maybe I could start,
okay, go ahead.
Congressman. Well, AID has a long history of doing pre-award audits, for example, and of seeking to build local capacity, including through our Inspector General operations. They often will reach out to local CPA firms affiliated with international CPA firms, Americans in particular. So in many of the countries we work, including in Pakistan, there is some depth there for us to work with. We've now have in place a number of CPA, local Pakistani CPA firms, and we have asked our IG to give us I would say, the good housekeeping seal of approval on those local Pakistani firms, so that we know that when we use them, they're ones that our own IG, Inspector General operation, are comfortable with. So we would often go to those that have also worked, for example, to do the financial audit work for the World Bank, or for the British, or for the Asian Development Bank. So we try a number of different ways to go about this to make sure we get good, high-quality operations to do that internal audit.
And I would just add, although I defer to Jim on the specific numbers, but we've been actively seeking to increase those number of pre-vetted Pakistani CPA firms. I think it has gone from 5 or 6 at the end of last year to close to 20 at this point. I've seen between 16 and 20. I know we're in the process of vetting quite a number of them. And then in terms of the actual pre-award surveys, I believe over 100 Pakistani organizations have been identified for pre-award surveys, and about roughly 40 are completed or underway. And so the process of vetting on the financial and accounting side is very much underway at a very robust level.
We mentioned the reaction to the conditions that was placed on the money by the Pakistani government. Have they reconciled with that? Are they okay? And is their displeasure manifested in other areas or areas other than visas? And just tell me how that process is going.
I think that I was very actively involved in the aftermath of the Kerry Lugar-Berman legislation, and I worked with Chairman Berman, Chairman Kerry, and Foreign Minister Qureshi when he was here to try to work through some of these issues, including the ultimate production by the Congress of the joint explanatory statement on Kerry Lugar-Berman. It was a backlash which we perhaps should have anticipated, but we didn't. It had been so long in the making, and there had been so much news about it that we didn't expect this. I think it's fair to say that a large part of this was ginned up for domestic political purposes. That once we were able to get the explanatory statement out, and once people were actually able to focus on what is actually in it, I mean, I think there was so much misinformation about this, impinging on the sovereignty of the Pakistani government, on what exactly, how onerous the conditions might be, what sorts of reporting there may be. Once we were able to get through that initial few weeks and actually get people to read what the legislation actually did and what it would require and what the opportunities were, it's been a much more cooperative, facilitative environment. I think having Senator Kerry there to explain it was very, very helpful, including with the Parliament. The Secretary's trip, I think, really was a kind of turning point. And at one point, she said quite bluntly in a town hall, "Look, if you don't want it, don't take it." And I think since that point, we've really kind of turned the corner, and we have not seen any sort of kind of negative press like this over the last few months.
If I may just add, there is one important evolution now over about 8 years ago. 8 years ago, when we did the first big cash transfers, $600 million, It was very difficult to get the Pakistan government to cooperate with us in certain ways we needed in order to have rights of audit in the right places we had to have them. But we now have an agreement with the Supreme Audit Institute of the government of Pakistan that will allow us, in fact, to audit and to have our auditors and our CPA firms and the Pakistan CPA firms enter in to audit wherever we feel we need to have it. That's an important step forward, and we've learned some lessons, and so has the government of Pakistan in this regard.
Very quickly, Mr. Beaver, the security situation in the FATA for our contractors and grantees, is it improving generally, or does it go up and down depending on government action in the area?
I would say the latter. It goes up and down. It is, of course, a risky place and a sometimes dangerous place. That has not stopped us from being able to help the FATA Secretariat and the FATA Development Authority from being able to do what they need to do with our help. But it requires a great deal of sensitivity, and particularly in Waziristan, of course, because of the fighting, that has made it especially complicated. We're very mindful of the risks at play there, including for the Pakistanis that work with us.
Thank you.